Hey, this is Zac.
And I'm Clint, and we wanted to thank Exoterra for sponsoring this episode of Colubrid and Colubroid Radio.
Exoterra is the industry leader in glass terrarium enclosures, and we are a big fan of getting to see the species we work with, both at home and at the university.
We utilize Exoterra caging here at Metazotics, and in addition to top quality terrariums, Exoterra offers an array of heating options, lighting, supplements, decor, and truthfully anything needed or wanted when keeping reptiles.
Thank you, Exoterra, for supporting Colubrid and Colubroid Radio. Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of Colubrid and Colubroid Radio. As always, Zac here with Clint. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, my friend. Doing well. A lot of things going on, but a lot of very positive conversations, you know, in many of the realms that we walk in right now. So
I'm very happy. We have launched the semester. I want to go back to winter break. This one's been a little rough.
Oh, you and your breaks. I swear.
Breaks. Yeah. I mean, I don't really get a break. The break is, all right, now I get to do all the crap I actually wanted to do last semester. And so I wrote my butt off with the Hognose book, but went to Pomona, came back from Pomona, and then I felt like I blinked and the week was over. It was crazy last week. Something's in the water this semester. I can feel it. But anyway, dealing with things nicely. It's rather cold here. Woke up to a blistering 4 degrees. That's what my car said when I woke up. So what were you at?
Cold. I don't even know. I think we were, last time I paid attention to it, it was like 14 degrees is what it was. And so, I mean, I don't know where it went from there, but that's just curiosity caught me. I glanced at it, you know. So yeah, it's definitely, so.
I woke up and immediately got on my phone and brought up the Govies because I was like, I don't want to see, but I want to see what it is in the garage. And it was perfect. It was 50 degrees where I put the animals. I was like, all right, yes, got it figured out. But yeah, no, just a fun day at work, and I'm ready to do some snake talk. So with this being said, do we have any Colubrid Fest updates? I don't know if there's anything.
I was attempting to get a hold of Mickey the past couple days, and I've not been able to. Now, last time I saw a post by him, it was him sleeping in an airport, like overnight. Yeah. So I don't know what he's had going on because I wanted to see if we got the hotel block locked in.
Yes.
And so as of right now, I don't have an update on that yet. But I can say that there have been some rather nice conversations regarding Colubrid Fest on, you know, some of the potential individuals I think are going to be coming, not just breeders, but some fun stuff, you know, that as always, Pomona, you know, gives us, it delivers its fruit, you know what I mean? So it bears its fruit for us. And I think that, again, that trip is going to provide some nice Colubrid Fest boosts for us there. So definitely cool. But we will keep everybody updated. I will say one thing that I plan on doing, and I'm going to say it because then it makes me have to do it if I said it on the show. And what this is I am going to put together a kind of a welcome to Evansville little cheat sheet for you, where, you know, if you're spending some time here for Colubrid Fest, things like here places you may want to go, weather dependent. You know, we've got several wooded areas that you can go check out if you want to go see if you can, you know, walk up something or check that out. There's also like, you know, here's the best pizza. Here's something else you might want to make sure you get to try while you're here. So just what's what in the area so that hopefully I can kind of make the trip as enjoyable for everyone. Again, depending on weather and timing, Snake Road's 3 hours from us.
Yep.
And I know that there's many people across the country who have heard of Snake Road but never been anywhere near it. So if you hit it right, it's
even how late we are in September. I don't know how you wouldn't see at least something.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it's all temperature based too. You know what I mean? Where if we're having a little bit of a warmer, if it's going a little bit longer, then that puts it right at the end of September instead of the beginning of September. So it might be just perfect, it just depends. So,
and I'm going to say this now as the conservation dude, you are not allowed to bring any collecting equipment into Snake Road. If you want to get an Insta ticket in Illinois, show up with a snake hook or snake tongs, leave that stuff behind.
Absolutely.
So that is the deal with that.
But even within 30 minutes of where we're hosting Colubrid Fest, you have Audubon Park right in Henderson, Kentucky, which, you'll see copperheads over there, king snakes, rat snakes, if you get it, you cross them at the right time. We have the Bluegrass Wildlife Area where you can road crew. Nerodia all over the place out there. Racers,
water snakes.
Yes. So there's some areas that if if the timing's right, it's good. Even Wesselman's Nature Preserve. All of this is within 30 minutes, and there's a good chance you can see something. So
perfect.
So pretty cool. Pretty cool.
All right, let's do a quick Pomona recap since we kind of hit on it. We had an absolute blast. I was only there a day. That's not true. I was there too. We flew in Thursday night, crashed in a hotel, actually had a in-person CCR meeting, which was strangely productive, and lasted a couple hours. And then we went into the show, and it was a great time. Somebody asked me late in the day, like, all right, Tinley or this one. And I love my Tinley peeps, but I honestly can say that I had a really freaking good time at Pomona. And then we made a lot of contacts for the show, and one of them we're interviewing tonight. So tonight we have Dan Mulleary, DM Exotics, talking about the importing-exporting process. He has a very unique model, which is pretty awesome. And then if we can, we think we can maybe do a little bit of a Pytas talk at the end, which is pretty awesome. So
I love that there were at least 10 people who are like, have you met Dan? Have you went and talked to Dan yet? I got to go talk to Dan. This has got to happen. So, this is great. I agree with you, man. I had a blast. It was really cool too that, like Zac and I got to because we had a good, from when we landed, well, actually even before we got on, because we were on the same flight out of Dallas, which for any of you football fans, while in Dallas, Cooper Manning, Eli and Peyton's older brother, and Arch Manning, who is, a star college quarterback right now, were both right in front of me. It was really cool. I'm like, all right. So anyways, but we were together for a long time. Gosh, what was it? From maybe 3 p.m. on.
A long way over.
Yeah. So it's to have just the two of us for so long it was abnormal, but such a great time.
Yeah. It was a good time.
So it was really, really cool. And then, Pomona it's always fun. There's always stories. We lock the key in our Airbnb. So we had to pop a window out, toss Kayla through it so she could go unlock the door and let us in.
And I'm going to tell the CCR listenership, this man next to me can bust through a window insanely fast. It seemed like he had practiced this a couple times. I was like, what the hell? I was like, how are we going to get? Oh, we're in. Okay.
I remember you saying, you did that a lot faster than I anticipated.
It's like, whoa.
That was fun.
Yes.
We had some great dinners with some great friends too. So much fun. Getting to chat with so many people. John Michaels, out at dinner with us, and that was such a fun time. Got to meet, for me, two of the highlighted meetings for me out there. One, and Zac missed it because he was gone on Sunday, but got to meet John, the editor of Reptiles Magazine, and got to thank him for all the nice things that they've put in the publication about CCR and Colubrid Fest, and that was definitely a great time. And then then we met John, the new owner of Kingsnake.com.
Yeah.
And that was a blast. I really love where his head is. I really love the direction.
Support that guy.
Yes, and I can tell you we're going to have him on the show. I'm sharing that with Zac right now.
Okay, cool.
I actually, John and I have connected since getting back, and we had an hour-long conversation today. And I just think there's so many really neat things that in directions that he's wanting to go. So you can anticipate seeing him on the program and probably look forward to some collaboration from CCR and kingsmake.com in the future. So that was great. I always enjoy seeing Nikki from Josh's Frogs.
Mm-hmm.
She's so cool. I mean, yes, yeah, she's awesome. I got to chat with her actually today as well on another topic too. So just a lot of, it's so fun. And I guess maybe for me, it feels even better because again, while we're behind the table for shirts a little bit, I'm not behind the table for animals. And so it is just such a social experience, you know, and it is a blast. So really enjoy those people.
All righty. I got one quick funny story and then we can move on. So in that kind of hyper-stimulated big show environment, I get a little overwhelmed, but I didn't really get overwhelmed this time, which was nice. But I'm noticing in my middle age that I can't hear the way I used to. And Mike Clarkson came to our table. I saw him in the chat. I don't know if he's still there, but and he was talking to me. I asked him, like, what are you going to get? Because Mike and I have very similar interests. And I heard him say, I don't know, Armin with Herp Time, the Anole guy, he's got African water snakes. And I was super stoked to hear that. African water snakes. That's a Lamprophia. Oh, wow. You know, went full nerd. Mike goes nerd too. So we were, you know, there. And I was asking him about these African water snakes. And, you know, he was like, oh, yeah, no, they're super cool. I think I'm going to keep them with my Graya, which are the African garter snakes that he has, which are, I'm very jealous of those. And so I then left our table to go see these African water snakes. And I went to Armin and I asked, like, do you have African water snakes? And he was like, no, I don't. But I got these African water skinks. And I was like, oh. And then I looked at the skinks and was like, well, I need to own those because I've been trying to keep salamanders here and it's not really working out. We'll just leave it at that. And I want to keep like semi-aquatic lizards as a side thing. Like I've got a crocodile tegu that I'm raising. And so they were cheap. So I bought them. And then I went out to get chicken tenders or lunch and I was standing there with our friend Kerwin. And then I put it like all together. And I was like, it's really weird that Armin didn't have those African water snakes that Mike was saying. And so then I like, oh, shoot. So then I asked Kerwin, what was Mike going to buy? Because he was there. Oh, he's going to buy these African water skinks. So I freaking scooped Mike, and I didn't mean to. And then I felt like a complete ass. So I called him, and he's been very, very nice about it. But I feel very guilty about buying the one thing the president of IHS was going to purchase at the show. And I think I bought like all of them. So anyway. So yeah, no, bought them right out from under him. I was like, damn it. So I've been trying to give them to him since Pomona. But they are set up now in the house. But they're probably going to end up in California soon. Once it's not like a polar wasteland here. So the moral of the story, kids, is make sure if you're middle-aged that you're actually hearing what people are saying. And skink and snake are not the same thing. So,
you know, and it's like for me, the only funny story I have as far as purchases was I, of course, bought some Alterna.
Shocker.
Everybody listening to this is floored right now. Clint bought Alterna. And I bought 9 of them. And I remember I just got back. I'd stacked them up and I'm like, okay, I need to find a box to put these in before Zac comes back. And then I look and here comes Zac around the corner. And I'm like, don't look. And he goes, I knew what you were doing.
Yeah. It's like watching an addict with the needle in their arm. It's like, you can't stop. So, anyway, no, it's all good.
It was fun.
Pretty funny.
It was so fun.
I did. I just stopped into my tracks and was like, it's happening again. So
it's what we do.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. enough banter. Let's move on to our various sections. So, you going or am I going?
I'll go first. Mine's going to be pretty quick. So we first off, as always, the market update is brought to you by the Show Me Reptile Show. As we always say, Kluber Fest wouldn't happen without the Show Me Reptile promotion. So please, if there's a Show Me show near you, go out, check them out, support those that support us. And by us, we mean us in the Kluber community. So for the market update, a couple things. First, I want to talk about business, and then I want to chat about some products that I know we have coming out that I've seen. So first, there's this January thus far, the first 20 days of the year have been an anomaly from anything I've experienced in January before in the reptile industry. Normally, the first 3 to 4 weeks, almost the entire month of January, hits a lull. You'll get the first few days of the year tend to pop up because people are using their reptile money from Christmas and whatnot. But then it kind of falls off for a little bit because you have a combination of the cold weather. You have everybody getting into the new year. Everybody's spent all their money from Christmas. That is not what I've been experiencing thus far. So far, we in this first, I'll talk about Metazotics and then just briefly kind of outside of it. At Metazotics, we're actually experiencing a 74% comp increase in the first 20 days of the year. Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. And it's, again, completely unanticipated. And I had a leadership call on Monday with our team leaders, and I'm sharing all this with them, and I said, the thing is, I can't explain why. And that always makes me a little nervous. It's great. The business going so well is great, but I tend to like to know where it's coming from, because then you can kind of predict how long that's going to last, or continue to make shifts to keep it going. Now, I know that it's more than just Metazotics. And the other example is there's a monthly show in Clarksville, Indiana, which is hour and a half from us. And I don't usually do that show. I'm not the biggest fan of monthly shows. The promoter's a great guy, does a great job getting people in the door. But Steve, he does it. He goes there as the feeder guy. And normally this show is good for 1,000 people through the door, maybe 1,200, at times on a good show. And here we are in January, and this show put 2,200 people through the door. And it's a monthly show. So it's not like, they were itching because they haven't had a show in so long. So I was kind of floored by that. And again, it doesn't fit the normal pattern. And I don't really know where that's coming from. So that's as far out that I was able to really see if this is happening in other industries or if it's happening with others in our industry. But I will say this, my advice to anyone, let me back up. So we're not talking just product. Real quick, I grabbed the number, and in the first 20 days of the year, we've sold 109 animals in the first 20 days.
What?
That's what I'm saying. It's just, it's incredible what's happening right now. So what I will say, though, is I want to give the same advice to anyone who is experiencing this, or if you're experiencing the opposite right now, the same advice that was given to me by a very intelligent man quite some time ago. And that's, don't let yourself get too hot or too cold. So like right now, with the way things are running so far this month, it's real easy to think it's going to stay that way.
Oh, yeah.
And to start making plans or spending money or capital that you may not have. It's so don't let yourself get. It's fine where let it feel good, and let it boost your spirits and your energy, but in no way let it make you feel like that's how it's always going to be, because you'll make mistakes if you do. On the other end, if right now you're thinking, Clint, you're an a-hole, I've not sold a single snake, in the past 3 weeks, don't let yourself get too cold either. Because if you let yourself think that, it's, nothing's going to change, this is terrible, things are horrible, you're going to be in this rut and you're not going to be able to get yourself, up and out. So again, right now it's an anomaly. Don't let yourself get too hot or too cold on that, either way. And yes, Kaylee, I will give you credit for that. You're fantastic. I see that in the chat. Kaylee's one of our associates over in Henderson. She's doing fantastic. I saw Ox was in the chat as well. It really, I need to give kudos to every one of my team. I've seen some dynamite performances. We've had, I mentioned on the last episode that Wendy is out, so we're short, an incredible worker, and we've had so many just step up. I mean, Landon, who is over here in Chandler, he's taken on more of the social media presence, and I love some of the ideas that he's cranking out. Anna, our floor leader, who you know as well, Zach, has stepped up and, just really made a lot of things happen. Kaylee's taken over the rodent room while Wendy's out. Corey, of course, is moving into the overall animal curator role for the collection. Our interns are doing fantastic. Caleb, this guy knocks it out every time someone wants to see a snake, they're going home with it. So it's great. The team is just doing fantastic. And Danielle, I'm not going to forget about you either. Danielle bounces back and forth between the two stores, builds all our bioactives and everything. So again, as I talk about this great start to the year for Metazotics, it's because of them. There's no doubt about it. So
cool.
That's what I got.
All right. And who brings us that?
I already did it.
You did?
Yes.
All right.
I did show me. I'm on mine, big guy. I'm on mine.
Keeping you honest. I'm on mine too. Right. So Rare Genetics Inc. brings the science update to you, which I'm about to give you. So if you have shed skins, morph, oh my God. If you have morphs for colubrids, I don't know why I flub this all the time. Send them in to Ben and Kayla. Kayla is actually coming to West Liberty next Monday with the conservation facility and all the turtle work we're doing. Thank you, Kayla, if you're listening, for bringing up the turtles. I'm getting 8 box turtles from the state of Virginia to be added to our colony, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, that's that. And if you have a snake you want sexed, they can do that. They can look at the chromosomes, which is a really effective way to determine the snake sex. And they're working with the SNPs to figure out what the morphs are. So we promote people we stand behind. RGI is definitely industry leader in all things genetic. So by all means, support them. All right. Now, here's how the science update is going to work. I have a file folder full of PDFs. I'm not doing a journal article tonight. I'm going to do a journal article next time. I've got a really good one. I've already read it twice. I read it on the airplane. Said I was going to do that coming home from California. I also finally figured out a way to put this 260-pound frame into a damn airplane seat and type, which is very hard for me to do. So I was writing a hognose book, flying over hognose habitat, which is pretty awesome. But what I want to talk about today is a very special book for me. And there's a little story about this one. So here it is. This is my recommendation for this episode. So if you can see it, Amphibians and Reptiles, West Virginia. New book came out. And if you look, the last name there might look a little familiar. So I was very humbled to be asked by my former graduate advisor to be an editor in this book. I am not an author of the actual book itself, though I did write some of the species accounts in here, but I am what's called an editor. So the way that this book's done, a lot of these amphibians and reptiles of books are being done this way, is that you basically get a group of people that kind of serve as experts for a state. I do not claim to be the expert for West Virginia, for the record. Like I said, Dr. Pauly is the expert for West Virginia. But what ends up happening is people like Dr. Pauly end up with a network of people that understand all the different reptiles and amphibians of a given state. And rather than take the task of writing the whole thing themselves, they'll farm out the little species accounts, not little, but the species accounts. And then you'll have the resident expert do that. In the case of Dr. Pauly, all of his graduate students did theses. My thesis was supposed to be distributional survey and conservation assessment of the eastern hognose snake in West Virginia. You can't do that if you only find one hognose snake. So I had to pivot and do my thesis was on reptiles and amphibians on an abandoned mine land in southern West Virginia. So, there it is. But with this, I bought The Snakes of Arizona, an excellent book that you should get. And I was reading through that, and that's how they wrote The Snakes of Arizona. And so I called Dr. Polly when I was working with that, and I was like, hey, why don't you consider having various people write the species accounts, and that way you might be able to get the book out faster. And he did. So we now have this book. I can tell you, if you're from West Virginia or the Mid-Atlantic, you've been hearing about this book for about 30 years. That's not an exaggeration. I was in high school in the late 90s when I heard, hey, there's a second edition of the West Amphibians and Reptiles of West Virginia. So now it's out in 2026. And a testament to my former advisor, one of my personal heroes, one of my mentors, Paulie is 84 freaking years old, and he's got more energy than half the people my age I know. And he worked on this thing incessantly for the past year and a half. So it's wonderful. If you look to the inside, let me find the snakes. I'm in the salamanders here. Whoop, snakes in the back. So on the inside of the book, here we go. Worm snake. That's a good one. Each species has lots of data in here about it. If you're a herper and you herp in the Mid-Atlantic region, so that's Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, that area, you want to get this book because the species accounts in it are great. And my love affair of natural history that many of the listeners know is an incredibly important part of me. It came from Tom Polly. Like he is what fostered this that you're seeing. And my writing style came from Dr. Polly. So if you have the other book, my false water cobra book, and you like that, by all means, get this one because it's an easy read. The other thing that's fun is with this new book on West Virginia, all of the proceeds are going towards the West Virginia Amphibian and Reptile Collection. So museum collections are kind of in danger right now. It's hard to get funding to buy the alcohol, buy the jars, to keep, the specimens relevant. Marshall has agreed to let the collection exist, which is a major step forward. I can tell you, being a professor at a university, space is extremely limited. And it's kind of hard in 2026 to validate a room full of dead snakes, salamanders, frogs, and turtles. So kudos to my alma mater for being willing to house the collection. But the thing that's difficult is budget cuts are leading to, we're not able to buy as much alcohol. We're not able to buy new jars. So the proceedings from this book are all going 100% towards the maintenance of that collection, because that collection is manifested in the book. So there's that. Another thing that's super cool, I love that Dr. Polly did this, is in the species accounts, there's a section that's not in most books called field notes. And one of the things that Dr. Polly was big on is he taught us how to, when we make an observation out in the woods, how to note all that. And so then you can take all those little snippets and kind of use various modeling techniques and then be able to talk about the biology of the beast. And we had all that. I mean, we're talking like thousands and thousands of field notes. Usually in these books, you're kind of instructed to keep it to a minimum. It's not supposed to be this giant, massive blurb. Now, that's changed a little bit in recent years, which is a good thing. And Polly was like, basically, I'm old. I'm doing it my way. We're putting the field notes in there. And so when you read the field notes section, it says it's got the individual that made the observation. I think I've got like 50 observations in there. And it's just like on April 23rd at 2:23 p.m., blah, observed a black racer feeding on an eastern garter snake. Here's how it killed it. Here's how it constricted it. Here's how it ate it. Here's where it went after it ate it. And it's just super cool. So being an editor on the book, I had to read all the species accounts like twice. So I've already read this thing before it was published multiple times. And I can tell you it's a good one. The only thing that I will tell you about right now is we wanted to keep it in West Virginia. It's published by a West Virginia publishing company. I am not in any way criticizing the publishing company, but the quality, the physical quality of the book, it's not really suitable to go in a backpack and go in the woods. So just know that ahead of time. This is more of a keep it on your bookshelf, pull it out when you want to learn about something. And now, real fast, a little story. So this is funny. I did not know this was being printed. I had no clue. I was thinking after Christmas, wonder when the book's coming out. I don't think I've ever talked to Clint or Max once about this book.
Nope.
Okay. Not one time. And so I woke up. I'm like scrolling socials when you scroll socials, if you know what I'm talking about. And I noticed that Dr. Pauly made a post about the book. And I thought it was kind of what Craig Trumbauer is doing right now, which we're going to talk about, which is, hey, pre-orders are available on the book. I didn't realize that the book was available. I didn't even have a copy. And so didn't think anything of it, went to work, did my thing. About halfway through the day, I realized, oh, he's actually saying you can buy this book. And so Max and Clint and I, we communicate on Facebook Messenger. And so I went to Facebook Messenger, and ironically, I went to tell them, hey, just in case you see it, there's this book. I'm on it. We can't make a post yet because I want the post to all be about Dr. Pauly because this is his book. I just happen to be on it. And I open up our chat, and there's like 4 or 5 messages there. And the first one is, I think it was Clint, might be wrong. And it was like, so when the blank did this happen? And then the next.
Why am I just now hearing of this?
Yes. And then the next thing was Max being like, I don't know. I was shocked to see him on it. And I literally was like, oh no. I should have probably shared with my fam what I had done. And so it was just kind of funny watching the reaction. I was like, yeah, I'm on that book. Just so you know. So no, but one more time, extremely honored to have been asked to be one of the editors of that. It's the book on my home state. I bought my copy of the first edition. I didn't buy it. My grandfather bought it for me in 1987 when I was 8 for Christmas. So I have deep-rooted ties to that. I'm very proud of it. It's excellent. So you might want to go pick yourself up a copy of that book. Cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You know, 2 things. One, I thought, and I said this to Zac, and I've had a chance to, kind of thumb through this book, and it's when I first saw the title, because West Virginia is not really where I think about when I think about going herping.
Yeah. And
so my first thought was reptiles and amphibians of West Virginia. This is going to be like 4 pages. But no, it was very interesting. I learned a lot just by seeing, the variety that's there. So I thought that was really neat. And I love the story of now you being involved, in this one when, how it's come full circle for you. Now, I'm going to share a quick story that I wasn't honest with you on. I never told you. It has nothing to do with the book. It has to do when you said that you had figured out how to get 260 pounds in an airplane in typing. Yeah. So just so everyone knows, Zac and I, we both flew into Dallas, and then we were going to be on the same flight to California, which is going to be several hours, and, the thought was, well, if I'm going to have to be wedged next to somebody for several hours, well, it'd be nice if it's Zac, and then we can talk, right? And so we had the plan where when we got situated, I was going to talk to whoever was in the middle seat next to me and say, hey, do you want an aisle seat that's even further up, closer to the door, and to swap with Zac so he could come back and sit with me? Well, once we all got situated, the plane is almost full. Like it's an almost completely full plane, except the seat next to me. There was no one in the middle seat. And Zac kind of looks back from up front, and he can only see me because there's a partition. He can't see anything past my shoulder. And he looks back at me with kind of like, what'd they say? And I look at him and I go, no. He said no. My thought was, as much as I love you, buddy, I'd much rather not have anybody pressed against me for the next 3 or 4 hours.
That's fair. That's very fair. I would have done the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. I would have probably just looked at you and been like, no.
That's what I said. No, not to worry about it. No, we're good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right.
So,
fair.
Yeah, good stuff.
Okay. And then final thing before we bring Dan on. So a lot of people know that Craig Trumbauer has a little book coming out, and since I'm kind of the resident book guy, The Complete Guide to Pine Snakes, Bull Snakes, and Gopher Snakes, basically complete Pitchophis. This has been talked about for over a year now. Stephen Cush, we promote all podcasts here. Cush has an excellent episode on Cush's Corner with Craig Trumbauer. You want to go listen to that one? I listened to that one actually flying out to California. The book is now in the pre-order phase. So, for the love of God, people, there is only one other complete guide that involves a colubrid, and I covered it last week, which is the Subok book. We all love Craig Trumbauer. Most of us love Pitchophis. I can't really think of a colubrid book it's more anticipated than this one. And I know there's a lot of people that want it, and I know that the print run for the first round was like, it's decent, but it's not huge. Pre-orders are now. Just buy it. Just go on to Eco Universe, find the pre-order page, and buy it. It's $70, which is a little high. I know they had to increase the price due to tariffs and things like that, but buy it. This is going to be a good one. And I don't even know if Clint knows this. I was texting with Craig yesterday. Craig is going to come on the show when the book is officially released, and we're going to have a show dedicated to Craig's style of care for Pitchophis, which I am, as we all know, newly converted pit guy because I can finally keep the damn things here. I cannot tell you how excited I am about the book, about the conversation with Craig. This is something we all need to celebrate. We need to lift the people up in herpetoculture that deserve it, and Craig certainly deserves it. So that is something.
I'm like you, Zach, where mine, it's already pre-ordered. Yep. 2 copies.
I got 2 copies.
Yep. One that, just gets put away and really never opened again, and one that I get to batter and abuse by reading it over and over. I think the reason that this book was so important for me to be able to get a hold of, and I will track him down and have it signed. Trust me, that's happening. It's because not only is it a family of snake that we just are really, really getting into, and it's getting so popular and they're so neat, but I don't know if there is a more beloved individual in the hobby right now. There's a lot of great people, don't get me wrong, but I think Craig Trumbauer is probably the biggest living legend within, this hobby at the moment. And it's absolutely it's a piece of literature that I need to have. I absolutely had to
got to get it. And in our chat, people were asking about how do you order it. So I'm going to do what I do when I'm teaching. I'm sharing my screen. So if you're driving in a car and you want to see what to do, go for it. But we're on the ecouniverse.com website. If you hit shop now, you hit that, you come down here. You can hit this drop down. Sorry, I think you can actually just search for this complete Pitchophis. Yep, there it is. And then boom. That's all you got to do. And then you click on it. There's a leather bound limited edition that's kind of pricey. And then there's the straightforward copy. I bought both because I was like, I know I want this one.
Yep, so absolutely.
So there you go. That's all you got to do. It's pretty straightforward, but let's show Craig some love. I really want this thing to be celebrated because I can tell you that it's an instant classic. So that's that.
You got it.
All right. Are we ready to bring on our guest?
Yeah. Our guest segment is, as always, is brought to you by ReptiChip. ReptiChip is a fine product that is utilized here at Metazotics with really anything that needs higher humidity. We use it with our boas, pythons, as well as a lot of our Asian species. Use the Repti Earth when it comes to our nest boxes. Zach, I know that you guys use it out there at West Liberty. You like to incubate with it.
Yeah.
So great. Yeah, a lot of uses for ReptiChip and the ReptiChip line of products. So give ReptiChip some love, check them out, and give them a shot.
Okay. So welcome to Colubrid and Colubroid Radio, Dan. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing great. We're happy as hell to have you here. This is going to be a fun one. We were talking to Dan ahead of the episode, and kind of we didn't get to the point where we explain why we don't give out our questions. And Dan was like, I really don't like it when they give us questions. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a good one.
Yep.
We share the exact same mentality of just let her ride. So yeah. So with that, kind of our standard issue question when you're the first time on the show, and I know you have a very interesting story. If you wouldn't mind just sharing with us how you got into reptiles in the first place.
Okay, I'll try to make this not so long. Caught my first snake. I'm 55 years old, so I caught my very first snake when I was 9 years old on a camping trip. Nobody in my family, no friends, no uncles, nobody was into reptiles whatsoever. I just became fascinated with reptiles in general, and it just snowballed from there. I thought that I would have outgrown it when I became like 18, an adult, and started to pursue other normal things, but it did not happen. And as I found myself working a normal job and all that other stuff, I just had the means to like get deeper and deeper into it. And I've never stopped since. And I'm as passionate now, or maybe even more so than I was in previous years. But I started working at a pet store a local shop when I was 14 years old, not a reptile store, just a general pet store. And the shop was purchasing reptiles for the little tiny reptile department from California Zoological Supply, also known as Cal Zoo. So my mom would excuse me from school, and I would drive with the manager to go handpick stock for the store. And that really blew my mind, because I mean, if you could imagine, if you're like really into reptiles and you're 14 years old, you're going to this gigantic importer's warehouse full of, especially back in those days, everything you could imagine, things that are no longer allowed in California, like caiman and different things. It was all there. And I would leave out of there with animals, and I wouldn't get paid for like weeks and weeks and weeks, because I was getting animals off the tab, right, from the shop. So, and I would come back with all kinds of crazy stuff. And I mean, and then it just grew from there. I bred my first snakes when I was about 15 years old. I kind of sort of half-heartedly, accidentally bred red-tailed boas, just regular old red-tailed boas. I had one that I raised from a baby, and the manager of that shop had a male, so I borrowed the male and got some babies. And it slowly kind of dawned on me, where back in those days, I don't know if you guys were keeping back in those days, it was like the mid 80s. Very few people were breeding stuff. North American clubrids and that, yes, but it was mostly, you would just have one of everything. So you would have like one retic, one ball python, one Savannah monitor, one Nile, you would just have one of everything. But once I bred those, and I was super excited at seeing, that I created life at home, it changed my whole perspective on how to do things. And suddenly I became very, very focused on getting pairs of things. And I just kind of kept breeding, and there has not been 1 year that has gone by ever since then that I have not produced anything captive bred. Like every single year I produce something. And so about mid 90s, I was working my normal job, my regular job, no longer at the pet store. I had a civil service job, and I wasn't happy with it. And I wanted to do something with reptiles. So I came very, very close to opening a franchise of Prehistoric Pets, which is nearby. That at the time, that was like one of the big premier reptile stores that we would all go to and look at, all kinds of cool stuff. They've taken a different direction, and I'm thankful that I did not go that route. My parents were kind of like against it. They were sort of urging me to just stick it out with the good job, with the benefits, with the pension and all that. So I was a bit torn at the time, and I decided I'm going to do both. I'm just going to do both. I'm going to keep this job, keep my parents and my family happy, and I'm going to start doing reptiles as a business at the same time. So in 1997, I created DM Exotics. This is our 30th year in business now, this year. And I bred all kinds of stuff. I did BCC, morph, boa constrictors also, did berms for a while, had some retics, all kinds of different stuff. Bred beauty rat snakes also for the first time, like in the 90s or whatever. And I was just doing all kinds of things, boiga and the whole bit. I heard in the intro that you mentioned kingsnake.com. I also had a very, very pleasant and interesting conversation with him at the last expo that carried on post show. So we are also in discussion with some really cool stuff, hopefully.
Nice.
But it was my morning routine was wake up, jump onto kingsnake.com, check the classified ads. My job had me waking up at 3:30 every morning. And so I'm on the West Coast, but the Florida people were kind of just waking up around that time and posting their ads. So I was still like the early bird, right? The early bird gets the worm. So it was perfect for me because my job had me waking up at the right time, and I'm checking king snake all the time. But it was still difficult for me to get all the cool imports that would mostly be going to Florida at the time. And I was getting frustrated because, I'd see an ad and it'd be like a Malukan scrub or some off the wall kind of python, some Indonesian animal, and I'd miss it. Sorry, someone beat you to it, or whatever the case was. So in 2003, I decided I'm going to go get these animals myself. I'm going to become an importer, and I'm going to figure this out. And I reached out to all the usual suspects, Bushmaster, Strictly, Calzoo, sent emails all around asking for help. Of course, nobody wanted to help me. Most of those people didn't respond to my emails, which I totally understand now. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to Southeast Asia. I've never been before. I'm going by myself. So in 2003, I made my first trip. I started in Thailand. I was and still am a scuba diver, so I figured I would go and do some diving. And I was going to run around into the reptile markets and just start somewhere. I didn't know where to start, so that's just where I started. Made some contacts in Bangkok, and it took me some time and many trips. I was just fascinated by everything that was going on over there, so I kept going back. My job at the time, I was able to work lots of overtime and not take it as pay, and I could do it as bank time. So I was manipulating the system so good that I was going over there at one point. I was making 4 trips to Southeast Asia a year. Wow. And I was like in perpetual jet lag. It was nonstop. I'd be jet lagged when I came back. I'd be jet lagged when I got there. And it was really brutal on my body. But they changed the whole policy for the city that I work for. They changed it because I was manipulating the system too good. But it took many, yes, yeah. It took many trips over there back and forth. I finally found somebody. I found the people here in the U.S. side. I figured out how to get licensed. I found a broker, figured out what I needed to do and all that. And so I finally imported my very first shipment from Southeast Asia in 2007. This didn't dawn on me until just a couple of weeks ago, but this year is my 30th year in business, but it's also my 20th year as a licensed importer, which I think both of those are equally as cool. So some trial and error, some not so good shipments, and it just wasn't going that well. So I decided to jump out of Thailand and try Malaysia. And I found my way to the person that is actually my business partner now. And it goes back a lot of years. And so I still source animals from him in Malaysia. My breeding facility is in Malaysia now, with him as a partner. Helped him at an expo in Kuala Lumpur one year and met some more people at that expo. And then I found my way into Indonesia, and also still doing business with the same person that I made that contact with way back when. And it's just been nonstop. I maintain a smaller collection here stateside, even when I'm gone out of the country. I have people that kind of do everything for me. And I have the breeding facility in Malaysia. I skipped over all the other stuff. Like I met my wife during all of this stuff in Thailand. She's obviously Thai. Most of your viewers probably are familiar with Apple. And ended up now with a house in Thailand. I live in Thailand most of the year. We're getting ready to do a breeding license for green tree pythons in Thailand as well at our house. And I have all kinds of irons in the fire all over the place. And my network, all my contacts, it's insane. Even I kind of like don't believe how far I've gotten and how ridiculous it is right now at this point. It's really crazy. It's really crazy.
Man.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
We like that mentality.
Real quick, I want to go all the way back to when you said you caught your first snake. What was that? What was the first snake?
It was a garter snake up in up in Northern California, like somewhere near the redwoods or something along those lines. Yeah.
And I asked that because of all the variety that led to, in your life of what you just listed, keeping and working with. I was curious, what was the species that kicked all of that off? And it was the garter snake. I mean, how beautiful is that? Yeah.
Really, at that time, of course, 9 years old, like, you're quite limited, especially when you're not, with a father that has a collection or something like that. So it was like kind of just whatever I could muster. On a subsequent camping trip, because now I kind of broke the ice, right? Because I convinced my parents to let me take this snake home and keep it. And then I caught another garter snake on another trip in another place that was gravid. And so then I got to experience also like babies and stuff. That was before I bred those boa constrictors. So it's just been, and it's always been snakes, but a little bit of fringe species. I kept monitors and stuff when I was younger. Went through like tarantula phases a couple of times in my life where I kind of got deep into tarantulas for a while. So it's been a lot of different things. Even amphibians kind of found their way into my collection at times. So but snakes has always, that's just been my thing. It's just been snakes. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Well, I want to get more into the kind of the importation and exportation on, how that developed and played out. But before we do, we want to give a shout out to ZoomEd, another one of our sponsors who sponsor the actual topical segment of the show. So Max, if you can take care of that for us. CCR is proud to be sponsored by ZoomEd Laboratories.
ZoomEd has been servicing the reptile industry since 1977, and in 1993, they introduced us to the Reptisock, the very first UVB bulb specifically for reptiles.
In addition to boasting a 1,200-item product line, ZoomEd also has an extensive reptile breeding program, with many species being kept at their incredible greenhouse facility located in California.
Thank you, ZoomEd, for supporting Colubrid and Colubrid Radio.
All righty.
And I do want to mention that there's going to be some ZoomEd products we're going to be talking about pretty soon on the show that ZoomEd's going to send our way to play with, and I've been looking into them. They look pretty tough. We got to see one in Pomona. I know you liked it, Zach. But okay, so when you talked about going from, you had your first few runs of importing, and some were good, some were bad, some were, and kind of as expected. I've kind of heard that same story from any of the importers that I've ever discussed. You know, it's kind of, you have to figure out who you can work with and who you just have to avoid over there in the various countries. How did you decide to make that move? Because you do it different than really any of the others I've ever encountered. And that's what I find so intriguing. It's like whenever I've mentioned, my wife was, so who are you interviewing tonight? What are you doing? Told her, and I said, so he exports to himself. And she kind of looked at me and I go, yeah, it's pretty cool. So I kind of want to hear how you, like, when did you have that idea? Because it's not as easy as it sounds, and I know there's got to be a whole lot of hoops to be able to export out of a country, to import into another country and have it on both sides. But even all the logistics of setting up what you have to be able to do what you do over there before they ever get over here. Because, and forgive me, I promise I'm going to turn it right over to you, because one of the things that I've always heard, that the piece you can't control as an importer, you can be fantastic on this side on taking care of the animals when you get them and before you release them to the public, but you can't control how they're handled on that side before they ever get to you. So that's what I love about your situation here, is how much control you have now on both sides. So that's kind of the story I guess I'm interested in now, is how did you start saying, you know what, maybe I should look into this, and how did that process kind of lay out?
Yeah, sure. So even before the importing thing, I became a business because I produced so many carpet pythons one year that I had to attend an expo as a vendor in order to help move some of the surplus. So I was basically forced to become a business because I had produced so many animals. And in order to vend, I needed to produce a resale license. So that's what started that. The reason that I started doing importing is because I wanted to get my hands on animals, especially for breeding, that I couldn't otherwise get my hands on because I was competing with Florida, another state, another time zone, and it just wasn't working out for me. So I really, really only wanted to import animals for myself, but that is not possible because the exporters, they need to send volume. It's a volume game. It's commercial volume. That's what a lot of people don't understand, because I'm happy to help people down that road of how to do import and export. But the very first thing is do you have the capability to move a ton of animals that you don't want, and do you have a lot of money? Because it's money, it costs a lot of money to do it. So I did not want to be an importer and be selling animals. I just wanted some cool stuff for myself, I wanted the rare stuff for me, for my breeding projects.
Fair.
So I had to quickly learn how to sort of distribute and place all these animals that I didn't want. And there was a lot of very low end, very common animals that consistently were being pushed into these shipments. I didn't want to deal with it. I also didn't want to be called an importer, because that was kind of a negative connotation, but I had no choice, I wanted to get some of these really rare animals for myself. So every shipment has 1% that's for me that I'm super excited about. So I could get 3 or 4 gigantic crates, and there might be 2 or 3 snakes in that whole shipment that are for me that I'm super excited about. And I'll the lids will come off and I'll be okay, these are supposed to be in box 3. Which one of these is box 3? And I'm unscrewing the lid, and I'm looking for my snakes first. And then everything else is, I have to start. I was in the early days doing price lists. I don't do price lists anymore, but those tend to get used against you at some point. But I had to reach out to local shops, some shops in other states, some shops out of state found me. I was even selling to Cal Zoo for a while. So that was really tripping me out because 14 years old, I met Ty, right, the owner, and I'm in his place just blown away. And now suddenly I'm supplying them. Like, what a crazy role reversal, right? So, but it was tricky. I had to figure out where were all the dumpy frogs going to go? Where's all these tokes going to go? Where are all the water monitors going and all that kind of stuff? And so I figured it out. I knew early on that it had to be that way. I couldn't just be arranging shipments and go, you know what, send me those 6 snakes and I'm good. Like, I knew that was not how the business worked, and that I would have to build those shipments up and to get respect, because you're also competing with other people. So, like, if Strictly is taking, some gigantic amount of animals, 1,000 animals in a shipment or something, well, if I don't take something close to that, they're going to get all my cool stuff. So I have to, like, step up to the plate and do this, like, if this is what I'm going to do, like, this is how it has to happen. So it's been crazy. Like, there were times where it was a massive amount of work, and I'm not just throwing animals outside just because I don't care about them and not feeding them or whatever. Like, it was always very important to me that I gave everything as best care as I could. And it was really challenging sometimes because I found myself doing a massive amount of work, misting these and getting crickets for those and whatever. I'm a snake guy, but I got to get all these different, food availability going and all these different things. And it was really, really extreme at some point. Now it's really cool because a lot of those longtime customers that were ordering volume, especially now that COVID is over and there's like a huge adjustment going on, I'll just call it an adjustment. Those guys are like almost all behind on their invoices. Like, they're in debt big time to my, even some of my suppliers. And so when I roll up, I'm a friend now. I'm like family for a lot of these guys, but I'm also the guy that pays. Like, when I go in there and I'm pulling animals and I'm making orders and whatever I'm doing, those guys know that I'm going to pay. I have the money. I'm not ordering beyond the amount of money that I have. I don't even ask for 1 day to pay ever. I've never done that. I'm like, I make sure I have the money first, and then I order and just make sure that I'm within my, like, monetary amount. And then if I get a $45,000 shipment on 1 day, within like 8 hours, that money's wired already over there. It's paid in full. Boom, done. And that also makes you the shining star, especially in a relatively small pool of people that are not managing their money correctly and just they're, can I pay you this much now? Give me 2 weeks once I sell this stuff. And no, that doesn't work like that. It's a horrible, risky situation. And so now I can go and I mean, I don't throw my weight around, but there's a long history now, and these guys know that I'm gonna pay, and they're not gonna have any games being played or whatever. So it's I created that situation. I did, by being responsible and just having some sort of sense about how it all worked. And so I'm steering that ship, and I took it the right direction. In Malaysia, now we have our own breeding facility there. So to answer your question about, like managing the animals before they come over, yes, those we're breeding our own animals over there. Those animals, they go into my facility. They get cared for the way that I make sure that my people care for them. And, we even next guard our own animals over there for my stuff. So like we don't have any problems. We're doing everything right. And yeah, the animals come over here. Technically they're imports, of course, because they're coming in from my overseas facility, but it's my facility, and those animals usually don't miss a beat as long as the airlines don't mishandle the cargo or anything, or get stuck somewhere along the way. The animals, like, they're my animals. They're just moving to another spot. So that's a really great scenario. Also, Indonesia, I go there and I handpick most of the animals that I'm getting. So that is incredible. Like, that really makes a big difference, because I can go through a lot of animals and I can handpick stuff. And I'm not going to pick, the stuff that doesn't look good, of course.
Yeah.
I can pull it out. I can look at it. I can check what I need to check, look at it from every direction or whatever. Not always. Sometimes I'm getting animals that, I'm only on the farm for like maybe 2 or 3 days at a time, and then I leave, and then maybe even the day after I leave or whatever, it'll be like, hey, these animals I just got these animals. Do you want them? And then it's like, sure, no problem. And then that's like that's ordering blind, I guess, in a way. But I've learned now, like, what animals are okay usually and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I've watched some of the videos where you're on the farms, kind of going through the process of choosing. Are like, I'm assuming that not all farms are created equal over there, or is it a world that we don't understand because we're not over there? You know what I mean? Like, how do you choose a farm that's going to be the farm that you're using?
So it's all of that, but my main thing was choosing the person that's not going to burn me.
Yeah, that's fair,
right? So that was the most important thing. The person that I'm sending money to is going to, stand by and see it through and send me what I paid money for. That's the most important thing. I just somehow found my way. I feel like, like the powers that be have dropped these very special and really good people in my path. I don't know why, but I have made my way to some incredible people that are like-minded and honest, and like it's. I don't know how it's happened like that, but or maybe it's just me having a sense about people and avoiding the ones that I knew straight away were going to be an issue. Maybe that's part of it too. Just, like judging a judge of character. But it's crazy. I almost every day I like reflect back on it and just go, I can't believe that this is happening. I don't know how I found all of this stuff. Like, these are long-term business partners that I have. I have even more now. COVID was awesome because while everybody was here making tons of money selling reptiles, I was over there, and I was meeting really good people that were hurting really bad because of COVID. They weren't able to get those animals sold or whatever because travel was restricted, customers and all these other things. So because things were so slow, I was able to find these people when they were like really down. And so I supported them at the time when they were not doing so good. And loyalty is really important in what I do. And they appreciated everything I did for them during COVID, and they are super loyal now. So now it's to the point where, like, somebody messaged me, like one of my patrons or somebody was asking me just the other day. They said, they made a comment that said, I can't wait until you get back to Southeast Asia so you can get back to acquiring animals and all that other stuff. And I said, no. That's going on nonstop. It doesn't matter where I am. Those people are working for me every single day. I wake up every morning and I check my WhatsApp or whatever the platform is that we choose to speak on. And there's some photos, there's some video. Hey, I the thing that you ordered, I just got them and they look great. Here's the video. And, you know, do you want them? Yes, no. And it just, this thing just goes, it's just ongoing. And that also blows me away because somehow I've created this situation that is just unbelievable. It's insane. And so I can't believe it. And it's not even close to being over with because I continue to probe and poke and prod. And, sometimes it's like, you know what? I bet nobody's ever done that. Let me see how possible it is to set this company up or to start this whatever it is. And I don't talk about it. I'm not one of those people that feels the need to like run on social media every day something happens and announce my new partnership or announce this and announce that. There's a time and place for all that stuff, and it's not before you've actually done things. And so I don't want people in my way. I don't want to run my mouth and then have people going, "Hey, I heard, did you see this post? This he's doing this. So don't you know a guy over the other, let's block this or whatever." So I work in silence, and there's a time and place. And when it's time to do my announcements, I'll do my announcements, but it'll already be done. It'll already be established. And it's already done. And so it's nonstop. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, I was talking with some of the people at school today about this whole growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, and it's the whole glass half empty, glass half full. Like, what's life gonna? When opportunity is presented to you, you can either like take a step back and think about like all the things that need to be in order for this to happen, or the opportunity is presented to you and you're not arrogant, but you're confident, like I can figure this out, but I got to go and we're going to figure it out as we go. Is that basically kind of the model of how you've gotten to where you're at is just
100%.
Jump off the cliff, figure out how we're going to stick the landing while we're falling, but we're going to stick it kind of thing?
No, I'm way more calculated than that. I do my research. I have a wide network of contacts and people that I can reference for certain things.
Yeah.
And no, I put a plan in place, and I'm very structured and all that. But the part where my plan is flawed is that at this point I'm doing things or trying to do things because I want to see if I can do it. It doesn't have anything to do about me getting rich and buying another house, or it's nothing like that. If anything, it's about me putting my hands on more rare animals that I can eventually either breed or bring to the hobby, or both. It's not about getting rich. It's not about money. I'm like, I want to see if anybody can do this stuff, especially a foreigner, if I can like gain entry into this market or this country or whatever. And so it's just kind of a challenge for me.
Yeah.
But I'm not cutting corners. I want to do it the right way, like on the up and up, because there's wrong ways to do things, and you can make things happen also, but I don't want to be doing anything that way. Like I want to, a lot of times there are ways to make things happen, like legally and lawfully and all that stuff. But most people are too afraid to like actually reach out to an agency or reach out to some sort of government entity and ask. They just hear it on the street where it's like, no, you can't do that. That's illegal. They don't allow that. They don't do this. And then they just automatically find themselves going towards like the smuggling route or some other way. But if you say, I don't know, that's just the word on the street, but there might be a way that we can do this. Let's just ask, and then a lot of times it's like, yes, we do issue those licenses. We do this. We do offer this. And you just have to be creative, and you have to just sort of be curious and just kind of poke and prod and kind of figure it all out. And so sometimes there's sometimes you get shut down, quickly, but other times you're kind of like, oh my gosh, we're like 90% done with this company or whatever the case may be, And so it's pretty wild.
Crazy.
It's pretty wild.
So I want to talk a little bit about the facilities over there, because obviously this was
Sure.
at one time a new thing. So what is the keeping like over there? Is it mostly relying on just the fact that you're in the tropics? So we don't so you basically have kind of the air, the large enclosures outside. So you're using the environmental heat and the environmental elements. Is that the main strategy of keeping? But when watching your videos, it was kind of like, whoa, that is not the mental image I had of how these things are actually set up over there. It was,
of course,
it was kind of like, damn, that's high end,
Yeah.
But what was that like first time you bore witness to that or saw what a reptile farm was or something to that effect?
So I'm pretty sure that I might be the first person to actually show a reptile farm on YouTube. There may have been some other like weird off the wall video, but I'm pretty sure that I put the very first one out there. And I did that to dispel some like the general consensus that everybody thought that the animals just live in some screen cage and the only food they get is like maybe a house gecko wanders through the wire mesh and the animals get a meal or whatever. That might happen in some other places. I don't know. I couldn't attest to that because I'm just dealing with the people that I deal with and I show what it looks like. And but yes, it's in the climate, the natural climate and all that kind of stuff. So they're not using heat and all that. They don't need to. But my facility in Malaysia is an indoor building, and we have to use AC units to keep that building cool because we're fighting the heat. So we don't use heat. That was also a whole weird thing that I had to get used to, because here for my whole life, pretty much, I was plugging in hot rocks in the very beginning, that everybody makes jokes about. And so, and always running some kind of heat. And over there, of course not. You have to run AC all the time. So that's different. But I think like most of what you're asking is probably Indonesia. So there's only so many like real farms. I think right now there's a little over 20 licensed exporters over there, but the majority of them are like newly licensed and they're just operating something like out of a back room or a garage or or outhouse or whatever it is. There's very few like really big, nice farms over there. And it just so happened that the guy that I've been doing business with all this time, like he has this amazing farm that looks like a cross between like a zoo or a botanical garden or whatever. It's really nicely landscaped and it's beautiful. It's really, really nice. But most animals are kept, not most, but a good amount of them are kept outdoors. Some of them are kept in very large groups sometimes. It also depends on the value of those animals for those people. If they're worth a lot of money, they're going to be probably housed individually in like something a little more special. And if they're lower value and they can coexist in a group or whatever, like Taliqua, like blue tongue skinks, like they can coexist just fine as long as they're being fed. And like, there'll be a pretty big amount in a really big outdoor cage, and there'll be all kinds of papaya and stuff for them to eat, and they'll get like hosed with water and stuff like that. And like, I don't know, I mean, the care is okay, but they're not a really high-end animal, and it is what it is, like that's just the way it is. But it's, at least for me, I try to show everything that I'm doing. I try to show as much as I can just so people can see, because an Indonesian exporter over there has always traditionally just been imagined to be this really horrible situation.
Mhm.
And it could be for some of those newly licensed exporters operating out of their little back room of their house.
Yeah.
You know, and they hold the same title as exporter, but it's not a farm. It's not
Yeah.
a farm. And I don't know, maybe this is a little bit too detailed, but when you get newly licensed as an exporter in Indonesia, you get offered, you are given wild caught quota. So most species, there's a wild caught quota. And then there's also like a list of species where there's no wild caught quota. Only captive bred is allowed. And so if you don't have a farm, if you don't have a facility that can be inspected where the parental stock is verified and logged and all that other stuff, you're not going to get any of the captive production quota of species.
Oh.
So the new exporters won't also, because it's a whole process and it takes quite a long time. You have to parental stock. Some species require like second generation captive bred, so you have to establish this long list of documents and production and all these other things. So it's very, very complicated. And I know this because when I go to the farm, I'm genuinely interested. I want to know how all this stuff works. Most importers don't care how it works. All they want to know is, if I order this, when can it come? And when can I sell it? And that's it. I'm not like that. I want to know, tell me how this works. When did you get your parental stock? And I'm just curious. I'm not like trying to like be all nosy. I'm curious.
Yeah.
And especially my long-term Indonesia supplier, he loves to share that information with me because nobody ever asks him about it.
Yeah.
And it's a huge, huge feat. The last time I was there, which was December 6th. So last month I was there sitting on the farm with him. He has this beautiful house and we're sitting on the veranda and we're talking about quotas. He's like, oh, they were here for 2 days. They wanted to see every single this and that. And they checked off animals. They counted animals and telling me like how crazy it was, how detailed and thorough they were. And then he tells his wife, bring those books out. And she comes out with like 4 binders that were about this thick. And like, just for an example, only for green tree pythons, going all the way back to like 1995, I think it was, establishing how many legally collected parental stock he had going from the very beginning. And it was a count. It's signed and stamped by their wildlife department and their CITES department, all these things. And every book like represented, I don't know, maybe 8 years, 10 years, whatever it was. And I was flipping through it and it was amazing. Looking back at these dates, and it had quantities and how many of these, how many of those. And it's really, really complicated to the point where I don't even know how any of that stuff would be possible. I mean, it's insane. And also, for anybody that just kind of keyed up on what I just said, you may think that it is not legal to collect green tree pythons from the wild, but it is if you are a farm and you apply for a permit to collect parental stock legally. So they will occasionally issue a permit where they'll say you can go collect X amount of green tree pythons from the wild to refresh your gene pool or whatever. So that does happen. And of course, especially going back from the very beginning that many years ago, because you have to establish where your parental stock came from initially.
Yeah.
You can't just say, hey, I've got 500 green tree pythons. I want to get a breeding quota. I want to do production quota. They're going to say, well, where did you source all these green tree pythons from? And if you can't come up with any sort of paperwork or whatever, they're not going to give you a quota. So you have to start with legally collected parental stock first. And that's done by permit through the wildlife department. So that's just a crazy little fact that nobody really knows about, but it does. That is something that happens.
Was there any species that I don't know how to ask the question I'm trying to ask. Like, it wasn't on your radar and you're just walking around and you're like, wow, what the hell is this? This is crazy. This is cool. That it wouldn't have happened if you weren't walking on the farm, if you know what I mean?
So I'll give you a few examples, but I won't go deep into detail. I'll just tell you the species. And I'm gonna end it on the one that is named in the subject of this podcast. So
yeah, sure.
Antaresia papuensis, the Papuan spotted python, was one. I was aware of those a very, very long time ago, and it took me a very long time to actually get my hands on them. That's probably a whole separate podcast. But I have a lot residing with me now, and I'm breeding them and all this other stuff.
Cool.
Another one was southern white-lipped pythons. I was on the farm, and my supplier thought that he would screw with me a little bit and said, go over there and take out that white-lipped python. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I walk, because they're normally like pretty wild, right? So I go over there and I look inside, and I'm like, he goes, just reach in and pull it out. And he does this to me sometimes, is joking around, like he wants to see me bleed or whatever. He goes, no, I'm serious. He goes, if they don't bite, just pull it out. And I pull out this like 6-foot southern white-lipped python. It's super tame. I'm like, what's going on? What did you do to this snake? He goes, no, there's more. He goes, pull any of them out that you want. So I go through, because now I think that he's playing with me still. I pull another one out. I pull another one out. Pull another one out. They're super docile, super tame. Where are these from? He tells me where they're from. And I said, are these available? He said, two things. He says, I've never exported any before. You would be the very first one with this locality of this docile white-lipped python. And he said, the other thing is I will tell you exactly where they come from, but you cannot use that locality when you label them, when you bring them to the U.S. to sell them. So we sit down, we look at a map, and like they come from here, but we start going bigger, bigger, bigger. So we start like, what about this region? What about this province? What about this regency? Which name do you feel comfortable? And so we kind of like expanded it out to a point where it became Tanamera. So that was the region. And then that's why now you have Tanamera white-lipped pythons because of that, because we chose that locality. But that is the accurate locality, but that's not the precise locality, because he didn't want his competitors just giving away the locality, right? The like precise locality. So that's another one. This last example I'll give you, my very first time when I went to Thailand to try to figure out importing was in 2003. I went to the Red Cross Snake Farm in Bangkok, and they have a little show every day, 2 times a day, every day. And I'm watching this show, and they're bringing out king cobras, monocle cobras, and mangrove snakes and all that stuff. And here comes this gigantic colubrid snake, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell is that? I've never seen anything like it before. And it was huge. It was like at least 10 feet, and the guy's like dragging the tail while he walks off the little stage with it. So now I'm the annoying guy hanging out after the show, and I'm like, what is that? I need the scientific name and all this other stuff. And so we had a language barrier, but I got the Pytas name out of the guy. Pytas carinatus is what it was back then. Pytas carinatus. So I wrote it down, and I'm like fascinated by this snake. And in that same trip, I'm going through this marketplace, and I'm asking everybody about it, for it. Nobody knows anything about it. I'm in Thailand. Nobody has ever heard anything about it. They go, I don't know what you're talking about, whatever. So I come back to the US. I start messaging Bushmaster, Strictly, Kalzu, all these people. They're just like, I never even heard of Pytas. Like, I don't, I don't know what that is. I have no idea. So I was like, okay, this I'm on an adventure now. Like, this is going to become a quest, right? Yeah. So it took me a long time to finally locate them. I located them with my partner in Malaysia. He took me to a skinner that was kind of like far outside Kuala Lumpur. He's like, I made some phone calls. This guy has some, but he's a skinner. I said, okay, well, let's just go look. Maybe if we have to source these from Skinner, then like, so be it. But we got to get these animals. We went there. He had one or two, I can't remember, in a wire cage, and they were in horrible condition because they were getting ready to be skinned. And he had king cobras, and he had about 20 big reticulated python skins, already skinned, nailed out, boards drying, and all this other stuff. So like, he was a hardcore like skinner. And I quickly realized that wasn't probably going to be the best place to source these animals, because they do zero animal care for skins, right? So that's a really, really dirty business in most regards. So finally from Indonesia, I was able to get like my first one. It was 3. I got the very first ones ever. And when I got here, I couldn't wait. Kingsnake.com, posting on the forums and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And nobody knew what it was. And very, very few people had even heard of the genus name of Pytas. It was really something that was really new to a lot of people. But some people were familiar with Pytas, but it was mostly Coros and Mucosa, but not Carinata.
Yeah.
And I started, posting some photos, and then I had to figure out those animals from square one. I didn't know what they ate. I didn't know anything about them. I couldn't ask anybody. I had to figure those things out all the way. And I felt horrible because I pulled one huge one out, and I told my wife, I'm like, we got to get some photos of this animal. This is amazing. And I was tailing it, and it was swinging back and trying to bite me. And that animal, the very next day, was dead. And I felt responsible because like I put it through like this stressful thing. But I didn't mean to, of course, but I was like, oh my gosh, I have 2, so from there on, it was like hands off, don't be doing that stuff. And I figured out very early on that tailing was a horrible idea for those snakes. It just made them want to come back around and try to bite you. So I learned that keeping a hand like the first third of the body, keeping a hand always there, even if it cruised, then go with another hand and just always keep a hand like around at that first third spot of the body.
Yeah.
And that usually kind of kept them somewhat under control, because they felt the way that I interpreted it was that they would feel uncomfortable swinging around to take a bite, because they want to like be able to swing around with the majority of that body and really launch themselves at you. And so, that was how I kind of learned a little bit about the handling and stuff of those animals. But if I didn't go and see that animal in 2003, and then that like set me off on the quest, that wasn't something I saw at a farm. It was something that I saw like at a reptile, like a public facility or whatever. And these are things that have happened all the time, every single year, in different places, in different scenarios. And it's for the last like handful of years, it's always been a personal goal of mine to find something new, bring something new to the hobby, or at least do something in the way of like species awareness through our YouTube channel and show people something new. I started YouTube because I was absolutely fed up with Brian Barczyk and a number of other people just doing ball pythons over and over and over again. And I was feeling like I need to be the superhero that comes forward to show people that there's more to reptiles than ball pythons. And so, and I started my channel, and the channel just sort of became species awareness. And I just focused on, I couldn't wait to show people the next thing they've never seen before. And I'm still doing it today. And I always think like, okay, that's it. There's no more new stuff out there. I don't think I'm going to be able to continue doing this. And I'll tell you what, right now, I'm staring at like half a dozen new things that nobody's seen before, you know, in the hobby. And I'm the right guy in the right place. And I'm not trying to sound like egotistical. I approach this like from a very humble standpoint, but I'm in the right place to make all this stuff happen, because I can get the animals. I live over there. I can get the animals. I can import them into the United States. I can breed them over there and bring offspring to the United States. I can keep them here, maintain them here, and breed them in the US, and then put them out to the hobby. There's so many things that I can do right now, and it's like I'm super excited. I have a new kukri snake that's insane. Like, it's crazy. It's so beautiful. And it's like, I just got word the other day. I woke up in the morning. It's like, you're not gonna believe this, but we got 3 more. Oh, yes. You know, like things like that. And so we're doing a lot with beauty rat snakes. And I have like all the beauty rat snakes that aren't in the hobby. Like, I'm getting really, really well set with those in my breeding facility. Helfenbergeri, real McQuards, real Taiwan, even Taiwan beauties that have been bred in the U.S. for forever, and now I see a lot that don't look like Taiwan beauties anymore. Well, I have a pair of Taiwan beauties. Don't ask me how I know that they're the real thing, but I have a pair of babies of the real thing in my facility. I look on Morph Market. I'm like, that looks pure. That looks pure. That is not. That's not. That's not. That's not. That's not. And so, even just doing things like that, it's like I use this term all the time. It's like a reset. It's some of these animals need a reset. They need to be, you know, brought back with pure wild caught wild type animals that haven't been diluted or hybridized or whatever. So I'm really excited about all that stuff. A lot of people don't like beauty rat snakes. A lot of people do. And, you know, like I have wild caught blue beauties that I'm breeding with other wild caught blue beauties. I have some that I'm breeding into like European line captive bred blue beauties, and like just stuff like that, because I know how it goes, you know, especially things that are pretty easy to breed. And then, you know, some 17-year-old kid goes to a Repticon in whatever state and goes, oh, that's a cool blue beauty. You know, what is that? You know, and then the guy will say, well, this is a Taiwan beauty. And then it's like, oh, I have one that looks kind of like that, you know, and then they just start breeding it. Next thing you know, it's like a Chinese bred to a Taiwan, you know, and that happens a lot. And so at least, so now like we have that going for us as well. So we're trying to really kind of do a reset with with beauty rat snakes.
Well, I can tell you, I think from myself and people like Rob Zirkle, we love to hear that, because we always say that, I mean, when it comes, especially like the Chinese beauties, it's the morphs in there are so just muddied and all that, and mixed with this and that it's hard to tell what you've got. I think that when you said that you're in, the prime position to be able to do this, you're absolutely right. And even more so than the crossing that takes place now by, I think it's this. I think that so much that was imported in the past, no one knew they were messing with something that was different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They because nothing came in label or was mislabeled, or so I think there's a lot that was hybridized, not realizing that was the case, or even that there were taxonomic shifts that have occurred now that tell us these are different, that no one knew that they were hybridizing. So to your point, I think that yes, reestablishing some new bloodlines that we know are pure, because it's not only are you in a good position to do it, but the hobby is in a better position now to know and label and understand what's coming over and how important it is to keep it pure rather than just, mudding it out. So I think that it's twofold. It really is. I think the hobby is in a much better position now to understand what it's importing in and to handle that better than what we were 30 years ago, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. Record keeping so much better, and the average hobbyist is so much more in tuned and better informed. There's more areas to get information than what there were in the past. So I love to hear that you're doing things like that. The McCaird's Beauty, you mentioned that one. I mean, that's one that's just not here anymore. You don't see that anymore. Yeah. So that's fantastic.
Sure. So the thing that still happens often is that animals are being sold as what they're not. We're getting captive bred animals from Europe where some people they're purists and they know, but a lot of them know they're not. They're trying to make a buck just like everybody else is, and they will just they'll say whatever it is to get those animals sold. So I used to have a different feeling about like the EU breeders, but I've experienced a lot of things, and it's not what it seems to me. And I've stopped dealing with EU completely, but and that happens here too. But the thing that I can say is when I tell my customers that this is from here, this is from there, this is this is that, like there's no middleman between me and my sources. So if I ask my supplier, he knows I'm going to ask, tell me exactly where these scrub pythons came from. Where do these blood pythons come from? This, and that. He knows I'm going to ask, and he's going to tell me like exactly like the straight scoop, because he knows I'm going to buy him anyway. He doesn't have to like make up anything, but he's proud to like give me the locality information on things. And I'm happy to give the locality information on animals as well to my customers. So I'm not in the practice of making up stuff, like, well, I don't want to get into it, but there's a lot of things that I see that I know are not what people are saying they are. I can scroll through Morph Market and I can look at stuff and go, no, that's inaccurate. But I'm not going to like police the world, and I'm not going to call people out and all that stuff. But I've seen enough, and I see enough, and I will see enough moving forward where I know in a lot of circumstances what's legit and what's not. And so I just try to be the guy, I try to be the guy that gives the correct info,
Well, and I think what's fantastic is, the fact that you're actually getting to lay eyes on the pure specimens as often as you are, that you develop the eye for it.
Yeah.
I think that while there's certainly the individuals in the hobby that, as you said, they need to make a buck and they will fabricate and, put a little spin on something to make it sound more special than it is. I also think that for the majority of the individuals that have something mislabeled, it's because that's what they were told it was when they got it. You know what I mean? So it's not a malicious thing necessarily.
No, of course not.
It's lack of information and being misinformed. And so what I love is with being able to like we'll give like mandarin rat snakes, for example. When those were first being imported in, there was no locality information given.
Right.
It was a mandarin rat snake. So it's like, to ask, a breeder who's been breeding this line for 20 years, what locality are these? Asia? I mean, somewhere over there. You know what I mean? It's so, now though, with some of the lines, we can get them, a little bit more fine tuned. So I love hearing this because it's actually going to help educate so many more over here of this is what they look like naturally. This is, from either this locality, like for even Taiwan's, maybe there's, subtle differences in, this locality versus this locality. Maybe there's not. I don't know because my eye's not trained for it yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I love that you're getting access to that, to such fine detail, because it will help advance the hobby. And it's also what I love, how it sounds, if someone is going to be a customer of yours, they can get the locality information, where a lot of other times, if you're working with imported animals, that's not the case. You're getting, fresh bloodlines, but you can't narrow it down to a province or a region, or it is what it is. So this sounds great, Dan. I'm really, really love hearing, that this is taking place.
I also go and see stuff too for my own, like for myself, So I'm not, if I go to Indonesia, chances are I'm not only going to the farm. I'll make sure that the farm is incorporated into that trip, but I'm going to go somewhere else, and it's going to be reptile related, and I'm going to be looking for something in particular so I can educate myself. And then, of course, because of the YouTube channel, I'm going to show everybody what I'm seeing as well, because I want to give people a look at this stuff too. So 2 years ago, I think it's 2 years ago now, I went to Biak because I wanted to see green tree pythons in the wild in Biak. Have you ever heard of anybody going to Biak? Because I never heard of anybody going to Biak, like on vacation or whatever. And I just decided I'm going to Biak. It was on my to-do list for a couple of years, and finally my wife and I, we went and we did it. We went into the jungle, we documented it, we showed you guys on our YouTube channel, and that's so awesome, So that's the kind of stuff that I like to do also. And I have a long list of places that I want to go explore. A lot of the people that are in my contacts, they obviously know what I do. They know reptiles are my thing. And so they'll put the word out while we're traveling somewhere, or before we travel, before we get somewhere, they'll be like, hey, we're going to stop along the way. When we leave here tomorrow morning, we're stopping at this guy's place. He is, a local trapper or collector or whatever. And then I can sit down with those guys and I can say, okay, explain to me all these Somalia tracei. Explain to me what these different appearances, these different looks. Those are Eastern. Those are Northern. This is that. And who does that? I went to Halmahera, sat with a trapper who's actually I don't want to give everything away, but I'm pretty close to this guy now. And so I could message him right now if he's awake and he has a connection, and I could say, I could ask him some question about, where are you finding these scrub pythons, and then he'll be like, oh, the guy that works for me is located in this village, and that he's the guy that's the source for those or whatever. And so I know all the right questions to ask when I'm with these people as well. And I make notes and mental notes and whatever. Sometimes I'm on my phone making notes on my iPhone or whatever. And so just trying to also expand my knowledge as well as I go around and do all these things. And every trip, you guys I'm sure are the same. When you take a trip somewhere, you got reptiles on your mind, it's usually okay, maybe you have your family in tow and you're going to stay at this nice resort and whatever, but you're probably going to be out looking for something, and you already know what occurs in that area. So you're going to be more focused to look for this or look for that or whatever. And it's no different, than when I travel, except the difference is I live over there. So for you to go to Biak, you would be traveling probably for like 2 days. For me to go to Biak, like I can get there in like roughly half the time, for example, something like that. Maybe it would take you 3 days. It'd take me like 1 full day, something like that. Boats, and, flights and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not jet lagged when I get there. It's just a much better ordeal. So I like taking all those trips and exploring all around. I already know what's in this particular spot and all that. And so meet the right people, ask the right questions without offending or, and that kind of thing. And it's cool also to have my YouTube channel sort of as a resume in a way, because they can go, okay, what's this guy all about? Is he an animal rights activist? Like, what is this guy about? And then they can click on my channel and they can see, I think we're coming up on like 600 videos now on our channel, and they can see that like, oh, this guy's deep into it, and he promotes reptiles in a positive light, and there's no like weird hidden agenda or whatever. And many times, believe it or not, my YouTube channel has gotten me like access or gotten me accepted into like these little circles of people, whereas you just show up and just go, I'm a YouTuber or whatever. Oh yeah, come on in, and then you're out there juggling all their animals around for views and being kind of stupid or whatever. So sit with the people that, oh, you're an industry guy. Do you do any business with anybody in Indonesia? Yes, I do business with this guy, and this guy. And they're like, oh man, I sell to those guys, and then sometimes there'll be like a message being sent. It'd be like, hey, I'm sitting with Dan. He says he knows you, I was like, oh yeah, Dan, he was just here like 3 days ago. I've been doing business with him for 18 years or whatever. And then the guard is down, and now we can have like real meaningful conversations, and I can ask like the real detailed questions where they're kind of like, I don't want to tell this guy how I do this or where I do this or whatever. And I just get like real candid responses in that way. So, and again, it goes back to me wanting to know. I want to know, not because I'm going to, write some article for the PETA newsletter or something. I want to know. I just want to know how it works, And so it's cool. I feel very privileged that I have such a deep understanding of how all of this stuff works. All of it, from ground zero on up. I'm playing different roles. I'm playing at different levels, and I know how it works from the square one all the way to bringing it to market here in the United States, because I'm doing that too. So, and again, not to sound egotistical, it's just, I'm just driven. To find all this stuff out, and I'm participating. I'm involved in the industry. I'm doing it at all levels, and I have a YouTube channel. So like, I'm running a business and I'm running a YouTube channel, and I'm just doing everything. And it's a crazy amount of work and endeavors, but I'm having a lot of fun.
I was going to say it's fun though, isn't it? Yep.
Yeah. I'm retired. I left that part out. I retired at the end of 2020, and then I moved overseas, and I was about 2 years before I was getting ready to retire. It was about 2018. I thought, do I hang it up? Do I shut all this DM Exotic stuff down? Do I stop doing YouTube? Do I continue doing YouTube but just do like travel vlogs? What do I do? Like, what should I do? I was really like perplexed, like losing sleep over it. And then suddenly I woke up one morning and I thought, I'm going to propose to my partner in Malaysia if he's willing to go in partnership with a breeding facility. And then he said, yes, I would be honored to be working with you. I don't know how to breed, but you know how to breed. So you would be bringing your expertise to the table. We can do this. We can do that. And so during COVID, I started exporting my colubrid side of my collection to the breeding facility in Malaysia. And so that gave me a way to just continue doing DM Exotics lives on or whatever. And now I took all the safety rails off. Like I'm just letting it. It sounds crazy, but I'm just letting it all happen because I have so much faith in what's going on around me, and like what's being put in my place. I feel like I'm just being guided in this way where it's just so many good things are happening to me, and I don't know how to explain it, but I just keep, like, it's like something is guiding me in this direction, and I just constantly coming away from all of these new people that I meet and all. I'm like, my gosh, I can't believe it. I just met the owner of this or this guy, and he says he knows this, and you know what I mean? And like, I just keep letting it happen. I'm no longer like going, that sounds a little sketchy. That sounds a little, that's too risky. That's this, that's that. I mean, of course, within reason. I'm not like just going, let's go for it. But I have a lot of faith in the fact that all these really awesome things are just being put in my path. And I don't know how to explain it. It's really weird. It's unbelievable to me. I've said it many times already in this podcast, but it just keeps happening over and over and over again. I fly back on February 17th. I'll be back in Thailand. I need to go to Malaysia probably 2 times before the end of May. I need to go to Indonesia, I think also 2 times before the end of May. The cameras will follow me along. I film everything myself, especially now since my wife is not so healthy at the moment when it comes to like being able to like really do adventure, like hardcore adventure travel. So I'm filming everything by myself, and I'll be showing all the adventures moving forward as much as I can, going here, going there, doing this, doing that. I try not to ever miss an opportunity to show reptiles on my reptile channel. And my facility is now full of like all these new animals that I haven't even seen yet, because like I said, it doesn't matter where I am, like my people are working for me constantly. There's new stuff hitting that facility all the time. And like I was going to do a master class on Oligodon. I haven't done one yet. I do these master class videos where I kind of like break down things in detail. And I have my footage from my facility because we have lots of baby fasciolatas and all these different things. And I got a bunch of footage, and I was like, okay, when I'm in the US, I'm going to pick like a down week, and I'm going to crank out a masterclass on Oligodon. And it's like, I can't, because new Oligodon have arrived in my facility. So it'll be a better video if I just wait until I'm there. I can add and stack more footage to it. Same with the beauty rat snakes and all that. So, but I never miss an opportunity to like get footage and get these videos. It's all opportunity, and I love showing people what's going on. So,
Cool.
Yeah,
are we allowed to know what these new kukris are, or are you keeping it secret?
I don't know what they are.
Oh.
They're new.
Yeah, I really don't know what they are.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but they're nice. They're nice,
man.
What's the next step for DM Exotics? I mean, where do you go from here? What's the future hold?
So I don't know, but I'm going pretty hard here in the U.S. with a relatively smaller size collection, but of some really rare stuff. And this year in particular, normally I'm only in the U.S. in the summertime, but this winter for 2 months, it will have been a full 2 months that I was here, and I was able to, rather than remotely like tell my worker, okay, now you're going to pair these, and then now you're going to do this, and now you're going to do that, and now you're going to do this. Send me photos. Okay, that's looking good, but now I want you to do this, and I do all this stuff remotely. By some weird circumstances, I found myself back here in the U.S. during this critical time of the year for breeding, and I ran it I did really, really good. I got a lot of things to breed because, like we're snake people with a lot of years on, right? So we see things that other people don't recognize as being an
Yep.
indicator of this or whatever. So I've been here. We've had all these storms here in Southern California. It doesn't rain that much, but we've had a ton of rain since I've been here. So I'm pairing according to the storms.
Yep.
Yeah, like all combating males of other species, and then like going, "You're both the winner. You both get girls. Do it," and like working. Yeah, I've been doing all kinds of stuff, and I've seen a lot of breeding here, and then in my Malaysia facility, we have a bunch of animals being cycled down, and we have other animals being like really deeply cycled down, like Chinese king rats and Apalachicola kings that I sent over there. So like those animals we really took them down in temperature this year to try to see if that makes a difference. But so I'll leave here, and I feel like everything is done. All the breeding's done. Like everything is locked in as good as it's going to be. Then the animals all come out of their brumation and cycling depending on the species in Malaysia. So then I got to be there, and then I got to start going, okay, look, man, this is what's going to happen. You're going to raise these up, 1 degree every 2 days, whatever you get to feed, and this, I want these two paired together. I want these paired together. I want those paired. And so then it'll be time to focus on the Malaysia facility and see what we can do there. As far as new stuff going on or what's coming, I have something happening in Indonesia that I'm still kind of staying tight-lipped on, but it's pretty cool. It's been over 2 years in the making, but it's coming together, so that's kind of cool. And then my wife started DM Exotics Thailand, licensed as a business. That's the name of the business, DM Exotics Thailand, and our goal with that is to get a breeding license for green tree pythons and probably Somalia clustelepis at our house with a licensed breeder, which probably will result in being some type of like a master CITES in Thailand, so we can we get some production, and then we can just easily pull CITES permits because we went through all the hoops and got licensed and legally imported our animals into the country, and we hold the paperwork, and that's the next thing I'm working on. So we've done the business is already licensed and everything. Now the next part is to import our parental stock into the country, and then from there we have to go and see about trying to get a actual breeding license so we can become licensed.
I have one other question here. I know we're getting close to the end, but this is, with what you were just saying, it's sparked this curiosity because naturally over here in the U.S., our American ego makes us only think of importation as everything coming over here. It's importing over here. And so I'm curious, whenever you said that you'd sent your Appalachian kings over there, what's the market like there? Meaning, are some of these animals that you're working with over there now, that especially those that you sent from the States over, I'm sure the much bigger market is exporting from there to here, but do you have a market over there that your production is going to as well?
Using the Apalachicola kings as an example, those will come probably back here. Like the offspring will come back here if we get to the point of offspring. I just happened to see some amazing examples on Instagram, like 5 years ago or 4 years ago. I saw a really big one in the possession of like a Korean keeper, and I was like, dude, that thing is amazing. I mean, it's a king snake, and I'm not like a king snake guy, but this beautiful snake is amazing looking to me. So I started doing this deep dive. I reached out to Dr. Means and like different people, trying to like get all this information about where are the pure ones, because there's like all kinds of weird, again, like diluted,
Oh, yeah.
weird, high price things or whatever. So I was able to find a small group of the real deal. And at the time I was trying to really limit myself what I was keeping here. So I just said, you know what, I think the facility is a much better place for them. And we can raise them up and breed them there. And then I can always bring offspring back here. Or if there's no market here, nobody wants those or whatever, the retail market in Malaysia is just fine. My partner has like 8 retail stores now, and they, you know, I'm constantly, every year, every summer, I'm exporting over there milk snakes, king snakes, bull snakes, gopher snakes, like all the morph. It's all morph stuff. They love all the bright, you know, like the albino Hondurans and all those, all that flashy stuff. And so, there's a market over there too if I need to, but I don't know, if I am blessed with some nice babies and I put it out there and people want them here in the United States, then I'll bring them back. I'll bring the offspring back, you know, and sell them here. I don't know. I have a lot of options. So yeah, because they're not CITES. They're not native to Malaysia, obviously. They're pretty easy to move back and forth. If I have shipments already moving, then it's easy to just add some king snakes in there. It's not a big deal. Not native to California where I'm based at, and it's easy.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. We have one final question. We ask everybody this question.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to get your answer. So depending on who you talk to, herpetoculture right now, some people say it's the best it's ever been and it's on an upward swing. Some people go gloom and doom. You know, we're under threat with blah, blah, blah. I'm very curious, since you've been in this a while and you're literally like in it, in multiple countries in it. What do you think the state of herpetoculture is in 2026? Good, bad, ugly, great?
And where's it going?
And where's it going?
Okay. I feel like I'm the right guy. I'm the right guy to ask that question too, because I'm going to give you like a really interesting answer, I think. I'm seeing more diversity now at expos than I've seen in decades. When I first started doing the expos and all that, it was wild to go to an expo and see what you would see. It was mostly wild caught. You never knew what you were going to see. There were less laws and less restrictions and less like restrictions on the countries that were supplying those animals. So you would see all kinds of crazy stuff at expos. You never knew what you might come home with or what you might see. Then it got really boring for a long period of time. Ball pythons, crested geckos, leopard geckos. It just became just the same like cookie cutter thing at every show. Now I'm seeing a lot more diversity. People are less afraid to step out of what the cool kids are doing, step away from what the cool kids are. Because before it was like, if you weren't breeding ball pythons, nobody wanted to talk to you. Like you were not in the cool kid circle. But now, and I've been preaching it for a long time, now people seem to be not afraid to step away from that stuff and make their own niche market, work with their own unique species or whatever. And so that's awesome. From the herpetoculture side, that answers where I kind of see that going on. From the market, a lot of people now are not doing good, but all it is, in my opinion, is like a market correction. The COVID breeders, so to speak. A lot of people jumped into this. A lot of them also for the wrong reasons, but they chose the wrong things to get involved in, and now a lot of people are just like, I'm out. I'm tapping out. I'm out of here. I just can't do it anymore. And so there's a lot of that stuff going on. For me personally, sales right now, and I was listening to the intro when I was backstage. So like Clint, I heard what you were saying. I'm experiencing the exact same thing. But for me, it's a little different because I'm only here in the United States, usually only once per year. But now it's this is like an unplanned trip, so it's twice per year. But I have my Patreon. A lot of those people are my like really serious customers. They know when I'm coming back. They know already in advance what I'm coming back with, and they're saving up and they're ready to pull the trigger on like a lot of stuff. So me being back here, sales were very, very, very strong. I don't feel that the market is hurting in any sort of way for me and for what I offer and what I bring to market. But I'm doing a lot of unique species. I'm doing rare species. Green tree pythons, obviously, that's my business logo. I'm pretty heavily involved with green tree pythons, and it just so happens that right now I feel like we're on the cusp of a huge wave of green tree python people, that want to jump in. I don't want to offend any ball python people, but the way that I kind of perceive it is that ball python breeders, to me, are more follower than they are leaders. They don't want to step outside of the ball python thing. They just want to follow those few top guys and try to replicate or duplicate that next combo or name something new or whatever the case may be. But now the top ball python guys are starting to show that they themselves have added green tree pythons to their breeding collections. They're showing pictures of their latest designer pairs or their latest clutch or the latest female on eggs or whatever. And if you're a follower of that, you're going to be like, well, I have ball pythons. This guy that I look up to has ball pythons, and now he's doing green tree pythons. I got to do green tree pythons, because it happened with hognose. We saw it. Every ball python breeder suddenly had to have a side collection of hognose snakes. And so I'm kind of seeing and feeling the same thing going on. And of course, a lot of my customers also, they're like, I'm looking to step away from ball pythons, and I'm really interested in green tree pythons, And I'm like, yeah, have at it, man. I'm the guy, So I feel like that's also coming. I feel like that, like I'm already experiencing it, but so for me, I'm optimistic. It doesn't mean that I'm going to count on all this to happen, but it's just sort of what I'm seeing. And so I think when I come back, May 30th is my return ticket to the US. I'll be on the farm on like May 26, 27, 28, hand picking the next shipment of green tree pythons. All that stuff will land. I should have like 2 shipments from Indonesia, 1 from Thailand, 1 from Malaysia. That's 4 shipments that'll probably be coming into the US in June. There's going to be a lot of green tree pythons in it. And based on my waiting list and all the inquiries that I constantly get, it's going to be a good year, at least for me. But there's definitely some market adjustment going on with other people that have chosen to work with other species. So it looks great. I made a video last week about the market because a bunch of YouTubers are putting out videos about the market's dead and don't breed your snakes this year and all this other stuff. And it's like, you're not even in business. You're a YouTuber. Like, how are you giving advice to people? And you don't even have a breeding business. Like, what are you talking about? So I had to do one that kind of like rebutted a little bit, and sort of I had to share like my observations and my experience of what I'm experiencing right now as a business. And I'm going back next month with a lot. I'm motivated. I'm really motivated. I'm excited to new stuff, and yeah, I'm ready. I'm super ready.
I love it. You know what? I agree with you completely on the green tree pythons. I think I said it in just in the past 2 or 3 episodes. It came up with someone where, at one point, green trees were like the pinnacle. That was, if you were chondro, if you kept chondros, you were the pinnacle in the industry, because they were just seen as that crown jewel. And it seems like at some point, it kind of shortly after Rico passed away, Rico Wilder, it seemed like green trees kind of fell away from the limelight, and you just didn't see them represented at the shows as often. Or if you did, it was 2 or 3. It always be ox, and But now it really seems like there's this hunger for the captive, for the designers again, just green trees overall, and you don't see them available, that often over here like we used to, and not even like they were flooded by any means before. You saw higher end available where you don't see that, anymore, or to the same degree. So I agree with you. That's a species that's definitely on its way, flipping back up again very readily.
I think so. And again, like this will go on for a whole nother episode or another hour or whatever. But, I caught some flack based on some of those nidovirus errors that were made with somebody else at another farm, a different importer in another country, nearby to us. And like, that was great for business for me. That was awesome. If any of those people are listening, thank you so much. You guys really boosted my business a lot. I got a little bit of negative commentary from people that do not know what they're talking about because they watch those podcasts and watch those people talk and don't really have experience and know what they're talking about. They came running over to me and started dropping some negative stuff my way. And again, I used my YouTube channel with a video to sort of straighten everything out, show people what our protocol is, and my sales just went crazy. So it's just the way it is. But we have good protocol in place, when we import those animals, we do the testing and all that stuff. So I think my customers are pretty happy. So I think it's going to go very well. So.
All righty.
Yep.
Well, I could speak for Clint. If you're in your car listening, Clint just disappeared. He's having internet problems tonight in the 11th hour. But thanks, dude. This was fantastic. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, anytime. If you want me back on another subject, whatever, I'm always available.
We're bringing you back on to talk Pytas. I think a dedicated Pytas episode would be
cool. I'll be in a different time zone probably, but we'll work.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, we can arrange it. Clint and I can be up all night or whatever time it has to be.
Yeah,
so
it'll be early for me probably.
There you go. Yeah, no coffee will get it done. Yep. So if people want to find you, where do you recommend they go to find out what you have, or just follow the YouTube channel? Just throw out your deets.
Everything we have is DM Exotics, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, website's been around for a long time. So people can reach out to me. I don't like broadcast lists. The lists get abused and used against me, at least, because people will like take my list and change prices and do all kinds of weird stuff, and it'll like circle around the globe, and my list will end up in all these weird. So I just stopped doing lists, but I know what's going on. I know what I have, what I'm expecting, what I should have. And people can just reach out to me through any of those platforms. And I do maintain waiting lists. We have Patreon, if you think Patreon's something for you, where we do Zooms, but we do early availability to our patrons. Like, that's my promise to my supporters on Patreon. So, I don't post too much on Facebook. Facebook is an anti-animal platform, so it doesn't make sense to me to like post all these things on that platform where I have to like use emojis to like send messages to people that something is for sale. So I just don't bother. But YouTube also, we do our best to update YouTube videos. I don't have like 10 videos already loaded and in queue. Like, most of my videos are like fast, like within days of me actually filming them. So anybody can reach out through any of those. I answer all my messages.
All right, perfect. I'll speak for Clint because I've heard him say this over 90 times. So if you're looking for Clint, go to Metazotics on Facebook, Metazotics on Instagram, and then the website, Metazotics.com, where I know they have all the things listed that are available for their show. So you owe me, Clint. I just did your outro. And then if you need to get a hold of me, Dr. Crawdad on Instagram, Zac Loughman on Facebook. And if you're interested in going to school, getting a degree, working with animals, herps, obviously, is my specialty. Reach out to me via email, zloughman, Loughman, at westliberty.edu. We're always looking for undergrads and graduate students. So thanks again, Dan. This was fantastic.
Yep,
And be it afternoon, morning, evening, or night, whatever time it is, have a great one. And we will see you on the next episode of Colubrid and Colubroid